Python strangles pregnant cat. Look who comes to her rescue. The girl saw with horror how the huge python was strangling the pregnant, completely defenseless cat. The girl rushed to help, but the python's grip was too strong. The girl burst into tears, realizing that the cat and her unborn kittens could not be saved. But at that moment, someone completely unexpected came to their rescue. Rachel had always had a deep love for animals. Since she was a child, she had dreamed of owning a large house where she could provide a safe haven for countless homeless pets. However, for now, that dream remained out of reach. She lived in a small, one-room apartment on the second floor of an old brick building in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. Despite her limited resources, Rachel did everything she could to help homeless animals with a particular fondness for cats. As a nurse at the local hospital, she often worked long night shifts, but even after exhausting hours, she always made time for the animals she cared about. Every morning, she would head outside with a bag of cat food in hand, ready to tend to her furry charges. She carefully placed the food in bowls tucked away in quiet, secluded spots. The bowls were colorful, chosen by Rachel from the pet store to add a touch of brightness to the street. Stray cats of all breeds and sizes would gather around, and Rachel recognized each one, even giving them names. She had grown particularly fond of a small black cat with a white patch on her chest. Rachel named her Astrid. Astrid had bright green eyes and a small scar on her left ear. Recently, Astrid had noticeably rounded. She was pregnant and expecting kittens. Rachel worried about the future litter. She knew well that the street was no place for newborn kittens, but her small apartment would be too cramped for the animals. Living next door to Rachel was an elderly man named Dylan. He was about 70 years old, but looked even older. Dylan's gray hair was always neatly combed, and his clothes were ironed. Dylan used to be a military pilot and had participated in many operations. His apartment was filled with photos and awards, reminding him of his glorious past. Dylan had recently moved to the neighborhood and largely kept to himself, rarely leaving his house. His only companion was Axel, a golden retriever and former search and rescue dog who had participated in many operations. Despite Rachel's efforts to befriend him with friendly greetings and conversations, Dylan always responded curtly and quickly walked away, making it clear that socializing was difficult for him. From neighbors, Rachel learned Dylan's tragic story. He had recently lost his only son, Jesse, a rescuer who died in the line of duty during a severe forest fire while saving people from a burning village. After Jess's death, Dylan took in Axel, his son's loyal dog and the only remaining connection to his lost child. Knowing this story, Rachel felt even more sympathy for her gloomy neighbor. She understood his grief and loneliness, but all attempts to befriend him remained unsuccessful. One morning, as usual, Rachel went out to feed the cats and noticed Astrid was missing. The black cat was usually the first to come for breakfast, but today she was nowhere to be seen. Rachel became worried. At that stage of pregnancy, Astrid should not have gone far. After feeding the other cats, Rachel set out to look for Astrid. She searched the entire street, looking under bushes and in basements. Unfortunately, Astrid was nowhere to be found. Rachel began to worry seriously. She called the cat by name, but only the singing of birds and the noise of passing cars responded. The girl then expanded her search beyond the street. Near the house was a small wasteland overgrown with tall grass. Thorny weeds clung to Rachel's jeans as she made her way through the thickets. Rachel decided to check there too. After a couple of minutes, she suddenly heard a faint meow. Rachel hurried towards the sound. Her heart pounded with anxiety. Parting the thick grass, she screamed in horror. Before she was a terrifying scene. A huge python was wrapped around Astrid's small body. The snake was at least 2 meters long and had patterned brown skin. It was slowly tightening its deadly coils. Despite the shock, Rachel guessed that the python, attacking Astrid, had escaped from a neighboring house. Its owner was an irresponsible exotic pet lover. Fear paralyzed Rachel for a moment. A thought flashed through her mind. She was too late. Astrid couldn't be saved. But then the girl pulled herself together. She needed to act and act quickly. Rachel looked around for something to distract the snake with. With nothing but grass and small stones around, Rachel shouted for help, her cries echoing across the wasteland with no response. Desperate, she tried to free the cat from the python's grip, but the snake's hold was too strong. Overcome with despair, she broke into loud sobs. Axel, out on a morning walk with Dylan, heard Rachel's cries and began barking, pulling urgently on his leash. Surprised by the dog's unusual behavior, Dylan hesitated briefly before letting him go. Axel dashed off, leading Dylan straight to the source of the distress, Rachel's desperate struggle to save the cat. His golden fur glistened in the morning sun. When they reached the scene, Dylan saw his neighbor in a panic, flailing around the huge snake. A small animal, probably a cat, was writhing in the python's coils. Astrid's eyes were wide with terror, but due to the python's strong grip, she could no longer scream and was barely breathing. Despite his age, Dylan acted swiftly, spotting a thick, dry branch nearby. Grabbing it, he rushed toward the python. Axel, sensing the danger, stood by his side, growling and baring his teeth. The dog attacked the snake with sharp fangs and claws, causing the python to loosen its grip momentarily. Seizing the chance, Rachel quickly pulled Astrid free from the snake's coils. The frightened cat let out a weak meow but remained still. The python, now without its prey, attempted to strike Axel, but the dog dodged skillfully. Dylan swung the branch, driving the snake back until it slithered away into the grass, its rustling fading into the distance. Rachel hugged the trembling Astrid to her chest. Tears of horror and relief rolled down her cheeks. She looked gratefully at Dylan and Axel. Without them, she wouldn't have coped and would have lost her beloved cat forever. During the rescue, Rachel received several scratches from thorny plants but didn't even notice it in the heat of the struggle for the cat's life. Dylan, saving Astrid, remembered the first aid skills he had been taught during his service. After this incident, Dylan and Rachel grew closer. The old man offered to look after Astrid until she gave birth to her kittens. Soon, the cat safely delivered 5 adorable babies. Among Astrid's kittens was one with an unusual color, completely white with different colored eyes, which is considered a great rarity. Rachel and Dylan cared for the feline family together, and after a while, they found new owners for the kittens. The story of Astrid's rescue made it to the local news, drawing attention to the issue of homeless animals in the city. This incident changed both their lives forever. Dylan finally stopped avoiding people, and Rachel found a loyal friend and helper. Together, they decided to open a small shelter for homeless animals. In the process of creating the shelter, Rachel and Dylan, of course, faced bureaucratic hurdles, but with the support of the local community, they managed to overcome all difficulties. Dylan leveraged his connections with former colleagues to secure sponsors for the shelter, ensuring it was equipped with everything it needed. Within a year, the shelter had become a beloved community hub, where abandoned animals found loving homes and lonely individuals discovered friendship and companionship. Dylan and Rachel started visiting schools to teach lessons on responsible pet ownership, helping children understand the importance of caring for animals. Axel became the shelter's star, playing a key role in socializing timid dogs and even babysitting kittens with extraordinary gentleness. Meanwhile, Rachel launched a blog sharing stories from the shelter, which quickly gained popularity and helped connect many animals with loving homes. Each year, on the anniversary of Astrid's rescue, Rachel and Dylan host an open day at the shelter, welcoming visitors to meet its residents and perhaps discover a new furry companion. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.